These are the main points that India can make use of the US business ecosystem.
I understand that America first, but it can't mean India last.
Most of these tariffs are self-harming, and it is only a matter of time when his domestic audience starts to feel the pinch in the form of high inflation.
If you guys can add as to what you see about the current geopolitical scenario, when you look at it from an Indian entrepreneur perspective, some major points that you see that these are the main points that India can make use of the US business ecosystem, or India can make use of the US disagreement with China on manufacturing or on many levels. So, Krishan, up to you. What is your observation about the current geopolitical scenario?
So I'll start with the tariffs and the scenario on that, because that's what the podcast is about. So I would say what Trump has done isn't tariff, it's tax on ambition. And India is today paying the price for thinking big. We are already the third largest economy in the world. We are fast growing. And well, I understand that America first, but it can't mean India last.
Exactly.
And not in 2025, when India is the growth engine of the world. So, yeah, that's where I think we are. Trump is playing his game of chess. India cannot be playing checkers. We need to figure out a way, negotiate a deal, and be in a position that is without the current protectionism that Trump has called for internationally. You can't be building 21st century alliances on 20th century protectionism. And that is exactly what Trump is doing, right? If you think about it, he's protecting his economy while wanting to build 21st century alliances with India and all the hogwash coming with JD Vance coming to India and Modi ji playing with the kids. So yeah, that's where I think we are, and we've paid the price of our exports being higher, and we are paying the price for our alliances and not having the stance, as you mentioned earlier in this discussion. We neither align this side or that side, and we are currently paying the price. So yeah, that's where we are.
And that's pretty much shown by how he's treated, the historical allies per se of the US, because the way he's been dealing with the EU, for example, with the tariffs even on EU products. So broadly, what he's trying to show is that he has a very, very transactional nature, and you pay up, you pay your 3% of GDP for NATO, or I won't give you protection against Russia, or instead of that facade that US had of protecting democracy over the years, he's simply telling Ukraine that if you don't give me minerals, I won't do anything, So that's a purely transactional approach, which has probably never been seen before in geopolitics. For the past,
the US and Russia have historically been stood against each other very strongly. I think there's something special going on there as well. They aren't being treated the way they should be, considering they are technically US's enemy number one.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But what I feel is that Trump realizes that he's trying to sort of pull off a reverse Henry Kissinger. So Henry Kissinger was the foreign minister at the time of Nixon, when Nixon was the president, and he's sort of famous for calling Indira Gandhi a bitch. Yeah. So Henry Kissinger actually formulated this policy of course up to China in order to counterbalance Soviet Union at the time of the Cold War. So I feel, I don't know if Trump is that smart or his advisors are that smart, I don't know, but I personally feel that what is happening in the background is that Trump is trying to pull off a reverse Kissinger, this time with the help of Russia, to counterbalance the Chinese influence globally. So he's trying to use Russia as a counterbalance, because he's seeing that Russia is, has cozied up a lot to China. And if Russia and China sort of get together, it'll be very, very difficult to stop, let's say, a Chinese invasion of Taiwan or any other thing. So he's sort of losing up to Russia, giving them a good deal. He's saying that, okay, fine, I'll recognize Crimea as a part of Russia, all of those things, and then just let Ukraine out to dry, and sort of then have Russia be neutral in a US-China conflict. So he would prefer Russia to be neutral rather than supporting China openly. That is what I feel is happening in the background.
There is something like that going on. I agree with you. But I also feel that if Trump wants a legacy in Southeast Asia, it cannot come by punishing the only democracy that he can partner with at scale. All the talk of the largest democracy in the world and the oldest democracy in the world. And then you're looking to do work in Southeast Asia, large partnerships, and you can't be punishing the only one that you can potentially partner with.
So where do you think India comes into place, right? Because we see like US doing it, as you say, they're trying to negotiate the best deal for themselves. Now, India has to definitely look for its business ecosystem. Now, if we see the trade disagreement with China, that recently I was reading yesterday that China has openly announced that countries will make use of this US-China disagreement, they should be ready for diplomatic measures. So where do you see Indian business ecosystems, whether it be in manufacturing, whether it be platforms like AliExpress? Now China has positioned themselves as a go-to platform for the world, whether it be in drop shipping or mostly the e-commerce ecosystems. Multiple countries take it from them. So I think, do India Indians have a scope there? What do you think? How should India penetrate into this disagreement that they have?
So you see, coming from Jammu and Kashmir, we've survived conflicts. So trust me, as a country, we'll survive tariffs and we will build empires while we are doing it. So yes, there's a large opportunity for India. I think first we need to strike a large deal with the US. We need to clear us off all of this trouble. So while the China trade war goes on, India needs to totally capitalize. Currently, 12% of the iPhones are being made here. That needs to go to 2025. We need to get our manufacturing ecosystem in place. Make in India shouldn't just look like the mechanical tiger. We should actually be making in India some solid, great things. Piyush Goyal spoke about how our startups are basically mere cookie and delivery apps and everything. So we need to be building deep tech and things like that to be able to take the place of what China is doing today. In the current scenario, are we ready? No, we aren't. Is there a huge potential and an opportunity? Definitely. I think these tariffs may slow things down in the short run, but I don't think it's going to stop the next generation from exporting its dreams. You see, so the potential is huge. We just need to have things going on from a systematic way by the government of India, etc., to support young entrepreneurs like all of us and pretty much the youth of this country. And I think the potential is huge. It just depends on how we can capitalize on it. So I think in a systematic manner, one, we need to probably strike a deal with the US. That would be of utmost importance. And then the right kind of initiatives need to be put in place for us as a country to be able to excel.
Great. Yeah. Sushant, you have any insights on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, primarily just to bring in a little bit of theory and, sort of get into the specifics of how and what Trump is doing. So specifically, I mean, the formula that, that the huge document that he showed in front of the press, and he had the percentages of different countries written as to how much tariff he's going to charge. So essentially what he's doing is he's simply done a basic calculation of trade deficit in goods divided by imports from the country. Okay. So India currently exports goods worth $89 billion to US as of last year. And US exports to India somewhere around 42 billion. Okay. So there is a deficit of 47 billion on paper. Now he's not looking at what goods are being exported or the inherent value, or for example, the industries. For example, India sends diamonds or jewelry, which are high value products. So inherently there is bound to be a deficit because we are selling higher value products to them. So anyway, what he's done is simply a basic calculation of that deficit divided by the imports. If you divide it, you'll come at a value which you then further divide by 2, you get 26% exactly. So that is his formula. So if you do that division, you get close to 100% plus for China. That is why he has imposed like 125% on China.
Mhm.
So it's like
Mhm.
that, how he's done it for each and every country. So if you like divide 47 divided by 89, and then you further divide by 2, you get the value of the tariffs that he has imported. So that is from the theoretical perspective. Now the
That's very interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah, so
Yes, yeah.
he's like there's a very I mean good this thing document I'll share with you guys afterwards, which sort of summarizes the formula, the exact formula that he had sort of shown in that sheet that he had displayed outside the White House. So now coming to the specifics of that formula. Now, just to tell you how absurd some of his tariffs are. Now, I don't know if you know, there's a small landlocked country inside South Africa. If you see the world map, you'll see like two small countries inside South Africa. One is Lesotho, and I think the other one is Swaziland. So, which is now called Eswatini. They recently changed the name. So, just to give you an example, US Lesotho exports $240 million worth of goods to US. Now, that is primarily diamonds, okay, and some apparel. And US imports $2.5 million worth of exports $2.5 million worth of goods to Lesotho, because obviously Lesotho is a very small country. It has barely 2 million people, mostly in poverty and all of that. So what would US even export to a country like Lesotho, right? But they're importing diamonds, which are high value products. That is why there is a huge trade deficit. Now, as per the formula, which does not incorporate the value of goods per se, considering diamonds are high value goods, what he has done is simply blanket this thing using the formula. He said ki itna percent lagega. Okay. So now, I mean, a country like Lesotho is being, is being tariffed like 50, 60, 70% or 100%. I don't know the exact number, but yes, there is a huge trade deficit. So the tariff imposed is insane. Now, what impact will it have? Will it have any impact on Lesotho? Nothing, because they barely import anything from US. But it will impact the US consumers because they import diamonds, right? So diamonds will become expensive. So point is that most of these tariffs are self-harming, and it is only a matter of time when his domestic audience starts to feel the pinch in the form of high inflation, right? Because all these high prices are going to translate into high inflation at some point, and that is what is going to be the killer for him. Because inflation is what killed, Biden in terms of like Biden or sort of Harris succeeding Biden. That was inflation, right? Now these things are going to cause inflation in the US, which will further cause problems in the global economy. So we are in for a very, very rough ride now. I mean, maybe Vyom can shed some more aspect from the entrepreneur side as to how these things can happen. But I just wanted to give you a theoretical and
I
economics
think,
perspective
yeah, I
of
think, yeah,
what he's exactly doing.
yeah. So, yeah, Vyom, I think you want to add something from the technological perspective.
Yeah, both like technological perspective as well as like the economics of it. So as Sushant said, I just want to reiterate the same thing. Like recently, one of the biggest platforms, Amazon, they just actually showed the different prices of the products as per the tariffs start being implemented, and at the end all these tariffs would be actually like the consumers would be bearing the cost of that. मतलब पूरा जाके कंज्यूमर को ही देगा, चाहे वो अमेजोन हो या कोई भी ट्रेडर हो at the end. So yes, prices will increase definitely, but what I have seen is that the borrowings that US had made earlier at the time of COVID, when they did quantitative easing, and they printed a lot of money and they borrowed money as well. So at the end, it's now time for them to pay back the borrowings that they have done. And considering the high inflation, they just want to bring the inflation as low as possible. And when the prices of the goods would be very high, at the end the demand would decrease, right? Because people won't even have money to pay for the increment of whatever products they would be having. So with an economical perspective, I just want to like ask Sushant as well, like how he would be thinking of that element. Like it's a strategical move by the Trump's government to actually make sure that the complete economy goes on to recession, so that eventually they can pay back the loan, or like raise further borrowings. First thing. And second thing, again, with a technical aspect, even though there are some headwinds in technical industry, we have seen multiple ID services companies revenues been having a bit of dip. But the AI thing is a boom out there, which is actually driving the force for many of the tech and software companies. And secondly, when we talk about tech, okay, the complete change of supply chain out there. So companies which I actually wanted to spend on the R&D side would be more focused of making sure that their new supply chain is being held properly, rather than spending on new R&D things, or the ventures, because tech is all about R&D, right? Like that is the major component of where the actually money gets in when we say anything related to tech. So at the end, if the overall कुछ भी कोई भी चीज बेचते हैं, तो चाहे वो tech services हो, even if we are doing B2B, but the driving force is all about like consumer out there, right? कंज्यूमर के पास पैसा होगा तब वो बिजनेसेस को देगा, जब वो बिजनेसेस को देगा तब जाके फर्दर एक्सपेंडिचर होगा, चाहे वो एंसिलरी यूनिट्स हो इंडिया में, या IT services company or tech services company हो हमारे जैसी. So I just wanted to actually make this a complete setup, like how Sushant or Krishnan and Kanish and everybody think in that perspective. एक तो जो हमारा ट्रम्प का जो borrowings उसको पूरी करनी है, and the deliberate action that he is doing to make sure that the economy gets dumped, because he doesn't have money, and then the bond prices will increase, the yield rate will increase, and he would be actually and the new money would be poured towards the US bond yields, because equity would dry up, right? So Sushant and Krishnan, I would love your take on this, and that's, yeah, I wanted to speak on this.
Yeah, just to add one thing here, like, if you see before the tariff percentage was there, I think Trump said about reciprocal tariff, right? So reciprocal tariffs, where then he got a lot of backlash. So yeah, if we can also cover from that perspective, I'm just trying to think more like India first. So how from an Indian perspective we can, if an Indian entrepreneur wants to play it global in terms of creating a tech ecosystem, or a tech company that that can make use of this situation. So yeah.
If I answer this, I would say with tech element, it's all on the new age AI thing. Like if anyone wants to build something, it should be like an inception should be on the AI front, be it a rapper, be it something out there to actually automate the mundane and orthodox task. Because like the orthodox way of doing ID services, or even like SaaS companies, like they are getting eliminated because of this new AI boom. First thing. And second thing, if I see that there are multiple opportunities coming up, because at the end, if we see threshold that if China has like 125% of taxes, we still are very cheaper at 25 or 26%. So at the end, our products would be, even if we are put in on the tax tariffs out there, we would be cheaper. So anything that you can see there is a disruption in supply chain. Let's say even if you have a plastic plant, I saw that Trump said that we don't want the paper straws anymore. We are going back to the plastics, right? So plastic ka factory laga do, aur supply chain, there is a huge gap out there. Starbucks is looking for new vendors, and that is a new thing out there, that okay, the whole paradigm's being shifted. अब उनको at least 50-60 million straws चाहिए, कहाँ से लेकर आएंगे, right? And if someone can capitalize it, that is a great move, and we have multiple industries coming up like that eventually.
Yeah, I think Kanish, you have a point. Yeah, yes, Krishan.
Just to take a straw from what Vyom said last, like Starbucks wants 50-60 million straws, what do you do? So very interestingly, where and how the government of India can help, and this can help from a Jammu and Kashmir perspective as well, from an India perspective as well. and from sourcing the right things for the US. So expired just last year in September, there was a policy where the government of India had given a GST rebate, 100% gross GST rebate for whoever sets up manufacturing in J&K, up to 10 times of the amount of the capex they invest. So to simplify things, अगर कोई 100 करोड़ रुपए की फैक्ट्री लगाए J&K में, तो अगले 10 साल में उसकी टर्नओवर पे 1000 करोड़ अप टू 1000 करोड़ जीएसटी सरकार माफ कर देगी. ठीक है जी. So which is 3 times the capex in 10 years, which also means if you have revenues enough, like if you're supplying to a company like Starbucks, obviously you'll have the revenues. You have 50 million straws to sell a year. If you have the revenues, just in GST rebates, the government will pay you back all, they won't pay you back, but they will exempt that money, right? So the 100% capex payback will come. So I feel in states where the government of India wants to incentivize manufacturing, J&K may be one of them because employment is key and there are a lot of problems going on. They could give incentive programs like this that would help people from all over India come and set up shop here. And ultimately, these can be export-oriented units. The government of India is giving them support in terms of tax rebates, etc. And this can then ultimately take advantage and capitalize of those opportunities in the US. So there's a strategic play from the government of India in terms of incentives. There's employment in the places they want it to be, like Jammu and Kashmir, maybe the Northeast, maybe wherever else. And in doing all of this, there's great economic impetus to the economy. There is employment generated, and the whole Make in India stamp goes forward, and the export to the US happens, and everything can happen in one shot.
I think that's a really great point when you talk about incentivization, right? So we have a lot to cover inside incentives. Like, is the incentive system that government gives for entrepreneurs, is it great enough?